Well, welcome everybody to our monthly call. I'm excited this month because we have a special guest that is going to be here. If you remember last month, we talked about how to make money right now with Instagram. And as I was talking to several different people, we started thinking about what is the woman behind that success? Who is she and how does she show up? And Jaime is my guest here today, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her. And I felt like it would be so powerful for you to really understand kind of that core being of who we are inside and how that really does translate to success, what success looks like for you. So, Jaime, will you introduce yourself? And we're excited to have you here today. Thank you for taking the time. She flew all the way to Florida to my house. So she's here right there out that door in my backyard. So she's right here with me, and I'm so happy to have her here. Thanks, Jaime.
Oh, thank you, Lori Ann, and thank you for inviting me to share here and to your home. It's much more humid here than where I live in Utah, so it's nice to have a little moisture. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here and connect with everybody. So I have been in the world of personal growth and development for almost 30 years now. I started when I was 21. It was really the what piqued my interest, and I'm pretty obsessed about it, actually. I'm just always loving. Really, it started because I never, as a kid, felt very free to be myself. I always felt like I was a little bit different. I could kind of blend in. I had a little bit of a chameleon in me, but I always felt like not fully free to be myself, my full self. And so I really was always looking at how do I be free to be myself? How do I be free in my own mind and have that experience of expressing myself and so that was really, it started with my own personal interest. And then I tend to be one, if I learn something, I love to share it and be wanting to contribute whatever I'm gaining from to other people. And I love working with women. So most of my work has been for women. And I really believe that women in their power can do anything and how do we break through all those limiting beliefs and all of the things that hold us back, the doubt, the fear. And so about 25 years ago, do you have those moments where you say things like that and you're like, how did that happen? I always feel in my mind 25. So about 25 years ago, I started leading workshops for an organization based in California in the States. And when I found that organization, I really thought, okay, this is where I'm going to be forever. I found now a place I belong. I found a place that they did personal growth work. I got to travel. Um, I got to be home. I have two boys. So when I had my boys, I was able to be home. And it just seemed this ideal situation. And I really remember declaring at that time, oh, this is where I'm going to be forever in my work life. And I led workshops for them for about 10 years. And it was really great. And then one day, I remember I was getting ready to go down to lead a workshop. There were these big hotel ballroom workshops. And I was getting ready in the mirror and I was putting my makeup on. And I got this little whisper that was like, it's time to move on. And I don't know if you've ever had that situation where you're in something in your life that you feel is you're going to do forever or that's your thing. And then you get a message of it's time to move on. Anyone had that before? Could be a relationship or somewhere you're working or somewhere you're living. And this was a thought that really gave me a lot of fear because I didn't really know what else I would do. I couldn't see beyond this work environment that I had. I didn't know. And so I ignored it and I just kind of pushed it away. And I thought, well, maybe I just need a little break. I've been on the road here for 10 years doing this and it didn't go away. And things started sort of escalating as they do when we step over these whispers. So my husband and I started to kind of get in arguments about my travel. And then I started to feel resentment towards some of the people that I worked with. And then I started to have some dread around the workshops that I was leading and the travel, but I ignored it still. And eventually I got really ill, and I went to a neurologist, and because I had a lot of symptoms that were similar to ALS. And he did all the studies on me, and he said, "You don't have ALS, you have stress."
Wow.
And I was a little embarrassed because it seemed very dramatic to be at his office with stress. But I also, he said, people often really underestimate the impacts of stress on their physical body. So I went home and I really sat with this. And what I realized was that the stress was coming from ignoring my own inner message, my own inner map, my inner compass. And I was very outwardly focused. This is the job that I have been working towards. This is what I have accomplished. Like I had all of these outer world voices and messages and fear, really, fear driving the show, that I wasn't sure what my path would look like if I didn't stay on this one. And so I really took some time. I didn't leave that job yet, but I just started taking more time to sit and reflect. And I started to get some new visuals of what I could do. And I decided from that space, like really stillness, which I was also afraid of. I would clean closets versus just sit in stillness if I had any spare time. And so in that stillness, I started getting messages about, oh, here's what I could do, and here's what I love. And so I started my retreat business, and I've had that for 13 years. And along the way, I also was trained as an equus coach. So I do horse assisted experiences. So I do coaching and retreats and horse assisted experiences, mostly as a catalyst to return us to our own inner map and our own inner compass. Because really what I saw was, if we're not examining our inner world, what are we aligning our outer world with? There's so many options and there's so many directions we can go. So if we're not clear here, where's our tuning fork? What are we tuning into? And we can end up in a lot of shoulds and a lot of what other people think we should be doing, or what our family thinks we should be doing, or our friends, and kind of in a lot of different places, and maybe even with great achievement and success, but feeling a little unfulfilled because it doesn't feel true to who we are. So I wanted to share something about what I learned from horses, working with horses. And I was leading a workshop with horses last weekend, and this funny thing happened that I'm going to see if I can show you the video, because I thought this was also a perfect example of what we learn from horses. um, and just to create a little context. So a lot of people think, anyone familiar with horses or been around horses? Okay. Okay. So, horses operate in herds, right? And a lot of people think that the stallion is the lead, or kind of the most assertive horse. But really, as you probably know, the lead mare, the female, is the lead. And the lead mare is the one that is the most calm and present, because she has broad awareness. So she has soft eyes and she has a regulated nervous system. And this is something I really started to see, that so often in so many cultures, we're sort of taught that, and I don't know if this is true in your culture. I know in the States, it's very much how productive you are, and how much you're achieving, and how busy you are is really a form of success, versus really how regulated are you? How grounded are you? How present? And horses, the lead horse is chosen by the one that is the most calm and present. And when I started to really learn from horses, I started to see that I'm also most effective when I'm calm and present with broad awareness. It's like go slow to go fast, right? I'm more clear, I'm more attuned to my environment versus very busy, but also kind of burnout. So I wanted to show you this little video. It's about 20 seconds. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So shoot. Oh, there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So did everybody see the cat?
Mhm.
Okay. So I felt like this was a perfect metaphor because here this cat just kept swatting at this horse's tail. And the whole time it just remained calm, present, not overreactive, not reacting to everything and panicking, right? It was just focused on this is what I'm doing right now, right? And just ignoring what this cat was doing. And what it had me think of is Seth. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Seth Godin, but he is from New York. He's an author. He's an entrepreneurial coach. And one of the things he says is we can react, which is the easiest thing to do. And we definitely have a lot to react to. We could just be reactive to our environment. We can respond, which takes a little bit more thoughtfulness. We kind of have to sit with, okay, how am I reacting? And now how do I want to respond? And he said, or we could do something else, which is the most important, but also requires the most of us, which is we could initiate. And so the question becomes, what do I want to initiate? And I really love this because I saw where I react to things, see things and just react, or, okay, I'm just going to respond. I'll be kind and respond. But then, like, what do I really want to initiate is a whole other question. What do I want to bring to this space that doesn't exist here right now? Or maybe there's something coming at me that I feel irritated or I don't agree with. What do I, rather than reacting and adding to the noise, I want to bring something completely new and innovative. So this becomes the question of what do I want to initiate? But to really find what we want to initiate, we have to cultivate some stillness, right? We have to cultivate some inner knowing and being able to tune into who is this woman inside? What are my values? What do I care about? How do I want to feel in my life? What really matters to me? And to do that, actually having practices, and I'm sure in a group like this, very mindful, you have practices that return you to stillness, help you tune into the intuitive knowing, right? And when we do that, we're more clear on not just, I could initiate this because I heard this is what I should do, but really, what do I uniquely bring to these spaces that that I enter? Because we all have unique qualities, right? We all have unique gifts and experiences. And even if like Lorianne and I both had wanted to initiate the same thing, right? Let's say we both want to initiate kindness in spaces. We have a different way of doing it. We have different backgrounds and stories and ways to start the conversation. So for me, this has really become around how do I trust myself, cultivating these practices, whether it's meditation or journaling or just being in conversations like this that return us to some inquiry. And then really looking at how do I want to feel, right? I love that question when we're not quite sure sometimes what we want to initiate. Like, how do I want to feel? What are my values? What do I care about? What are my capacities? And then really following that inner guidance from when we feel drawn to something. Like I like to think about there's a thread that's been in our lives since we were born. And if you just take a moment to think back as early as you can, just notice what are some things that you know about yourself? Like, what do you know about yourself? And I'd love to hear too what comes up for you, but any circumstance, any stage of life, you know this quality about you, whether you're courageous or kind or resilient or innovative. And that quality about you, you have known since you were a child. And that thread has never left. And so when we're able to cultivate some stillness and tune into this is who I am as an essence, and then the form changes. Sometimes I'm doing this business and I change to do this one, or I'm in this relationship, or I have children, or whatever it is. But there's always this essence that we have that we can return to see how does this want to be expressed now. So knowing that for myself had me less afraid of change because I really saw the form might change, but the essence never does. And what if our path is about expressing this essence that becomes our joy and also our contribution? And I really believe there's an intersection there that what brings us joy, what brings us to life, has us feel connected and inspired is also what we most contribute. And maybe that's where we really look to is what's inside me that I want to initiate, versus performing and producing and burning out and all the things we are often told we should be doing. So I'd like to just leave it there and see what your thoughts are um, about anything that resonates for you here. What do you see as your essence? What do you see as your own inner map being the point of connection and direction for you in your life? Want to see anything or want to share anything?
I know that I am so determined. I always have been.
Yes,
That is
determined.
so part of my essence.
Yes.
I think it was from that little girl who, I got put in a beauty pageant when I was 3 years old, and I did not win. Patty Vogel won. Like I still remember the little girl that won.
Yes.
And so it's like, and I thought, I am so determined, and my mom and dad, my mom carrying me out of there, and she's all mad, and my dad, she should have won, and these things. And I've done some work around that because it really is one of those times, if you look back in your life and you see one of those really, I think you and I were talking about this yesterday, what you see one of those times in your life that really was like, oh, that just happened, and your little child mind makes up a story around it, and it's like, I'll prove to you, I'll show you, I can be pretty, I can win, I can, and that determination. So I tell that story jokingly that I still know Patty's name. I know what she looks like. I know the color of dress she had on, her little
Yes.
black patent leather shoes, her glasses, I can see it all clear as
Yes.
clear.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, when we really understand that, we can start to understand where we come from.
Yes. Yeah. And I would say too that you being determined, right? Because there's that experience that we have, and then we create a story around it, but there's also an essence in you of how you responded to that. Like someone else might have responded in a different way in
Mhm.
that moment. So determined, I would say, is like part of who you are, like part of your essence that
Yeah,
shows up in your life and serves you in a lot of ways,
for sure. It has.
right? Keeps you go yeah, yeah. And so knowing ourselves, right, can also help take more risks too sometimes if we feel in the unknown or in doubt. So we can remember, you know what? I don't know where I'm going with this, but I know I can count on myself to rise to the occasion because I know I'm determined and I always have been and always will be. And so sometimes we're willing to take those bigger risks too.
I love that.
Thanks. I love
January,
that you
I know you've
remember.
got one. Or Mardia, you got one? Something about your essence?
Well, maybe empathic and kind, I think,
Yeah.
Hmm.
you know, since I was very young.
Yeah.
And now, of course, yeah, I think that's the maybe the
Mm.
core.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Beautiful. Empathetic and kind.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. The beautiful qualities. Do you find those as a source for yourself, like when you're making your decisions or you can see what you feel called towards?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. And it's sometimes hard, because I think you feel, more about you take on more of others people's feelings, and then sometimes you can tend to forget about your own a bit, you know, but I think it's a good quality nevertheless.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like all our qualities, right? Our qualities serve us and then overused can become a weakness, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they're all that way, right? So it's like, okay, how can I be empathetic and kind and have my boundaries around all the energy I absorb or extra
Mm,
self-care, right? So it doesn't become a detrimental. Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome.
That reminds me of a saying that I heard a long time ago is that, like you're saying, is that our good characteristics have side effects.
Yes.
And that's when we let them get out of balance, you
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
I, I certainly know that I'm willing to have the uh, kind of well, I've never done that before, can do attitude or wanting to stand up for what I feel like is principle, speak on behalf of others or whatever. Sometimes I bet sometimes it's hard for me to speak in my behalf. But also, all part of that too is through the years, I've also learned that it's very, very important for me to have sufficient information and knowledge because you can be sincere, but sincerely wrong.
Mm.
And because I've lacked maybe information or a bigger picture on all of that. So I'm still learning. I'm older than all of you here, and I'm telling you, it is so true. I feel like my mom now. I mean, she died when she was 91 and just a real go-getter. And you've heard a lot of people, older people say, "Oh, I just feel like I'm just learning right now," or just, and it's amazing how you feel that way. So
Mm.
I guess that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know you do get up to a point. I'm coming up on my 53rd birthday is in 2 weeks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel like I'm just kind of starting. A lot of the years were just kind of warming up, and now it's like, oh, there's so much to learn. It really is like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, right? And I love that you've taken that to be, oh, maybe I don't know where that has not served. Like I need to find out more information, or maybe I was wrong there, didn't have the whole picture, and that wisdom, right, that we gain from that experience. And to be in life curious and like I never stop learning. It's like the onion, right? You just peel back another layer and you're like, oh, I thought I was done with this one, and here's the next layer of it. So thank you. And do you see anything does anybody see any practices that help you with stillness and tuning into your own clarity, your own inner map, your own inner authority?
Mine is definitely writing in my journal. I definitely can find there's things that come that I go back and I read and I just think, wow, who was she when she was writing that?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, because there's a lot that comes out on paper because it's so safe. And you know, you are just you and that pen and that paper. I feel like that is a very safe place to go to be and to get some stillness.
Yes. Thank you. Do you get, as you're writing, do you get messages coming
A
through to
lot.
clarity? Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And especially if I've got a book there, you know, even if I'm, or, you know, or I've got a lesson that I need to prepare or something, if I, you know, scriptures or a book that I'm learning from or whatever it is that I'm reading, I I feel like if I can take notes and I can write some things about that and then just sit and be in my thoughts. And I do it early in the morning, so I don't get interference with anything from the outside world. I try not to look at my phone. Sometimes I might want to look something up on my phone and, you know, then put it away, but still that stillness for me is early in the morning.
Yes, I find that too. It's like the clarity from waking up and then it's our mind is hasn't doesn't have input coming in yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, getting those insights. Yeah. Anyone else see practices that are really important for you for tuning into your own intuition? Does it feel easy to for you to do that? To tune into your own inner knowing and make choices from there or a challenge?
Well, I don't find it, I wish that I would find it easy
Mm-hmm.
and not let my uh, instinctive behavior trump all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which, people use that like an ego or whatever, but, your essence is different than your ego,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so I at times will just even have to just try hard and just invite my essence
Mm-hmm.
and become aware and invite invite her to, like, oh, will you kind of just take over the body? Will you come in, push out the ego and everything else,
Yes.
And literally, even if I haven't spent a lot of time like in meditation with that or whatever, but I do know that when I do that, it does make you change something in your thinking where, because if you really think about it, our essence is what we came with, what we will leave with.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say it to myself, really, if I could just let her take the lead, she's really got my back. She really, because she already knows the big picture. It's just, why on earth do arm wrestle? So tuning in to that. And I think all of us can relate to this, that when we do, there's a feeling, even if life is still so chaotic around you and huge things going on, there does become a calmness and a feeling of being at home. And why do we push so hard not to stay in that? Or why do I push so hard not to stay in that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those are some experiences that I
Yeah.
had. Just pause and say, oh, you know, you're welcome in.
Yes. Take the lead. Yeah.
Take the lead. I'm sorry, I'll give
That's
it back.
that's so
So,
great. Thank you. Yeah, and I love what you said about she has your back, right? She sees the bigger picture. She came into this world, she's leaving this world, and it's that thread that's always there. And then our mind, our ego, our mind gets hooked in, right? Survival being right, whatever that is. And I look at like maybe that's just our work to do here in this lifetime, right? It's like the grit for the pearl. I love this expression of grit for the pearl. It's like as we become softer, as we become more our essence, we get this grit in our life, right? And it's or something for us to kind of rub up against and like, ooh, I'm really triggered by this person or this experience. And this is grit for the pearl. This is, I don't know if you were all tracking this past year being the year of the snake. And now it's the year of the horse. But at the end of the year of the snake, there was this conversation around it was like the tail, right? In January was like the tail. And so it was like, look out for things that are really coming up for you that are ready to be released, but they're kind of like and I saw that like the snake releases its old skin by rubbing up against rocks.
Oh,
And so for me, like you're saying, Jana Ray, that when I have those experiences, it's like call in, call in the higher self. But I imagine whatever that is as the rock that I'm rubbing against that's shedding an old skin, because without the tension, without the the grit, we can't shed that skin. We can't because we can't see ourselves, right? It's like we see ourselves in the absence of ourselves, right? Or I had a situation in January that I was just so angry about and so angry. And I don't really get angry very much. That's just not a way I express myself. And I was so angry. And I was like, oh, I have the grittiest rock right now. And what it was working out in me was that I can have needs and I can voice them and belong and be safe. And this was giving me perfect opportunity to express my needs, to stay in there with, in the face of pushback that I shouldn't have these needs met. I won't go into the story, but it was, these so looking at when I had my boys, my younger boy was very, very challenging for me. And so shifting that to, okay, everything that triggers me is my opportunity to do my inner work. Right. And so like you're saying, like when we get those, I want to be this essence. I know she has my best self in mind. I know she's also where I feel calm and kind and good about myself. So anytime that other part of us is triggered or comes up, here's an opportunity. Here's grit. Here's grit for the pearl.
So I certainly feel like for me, something that I've learned along the way, I can't remember who the author would have been or the whatever, but uh, basically, as we become more aware of these things, like you were identifying it, then I find that if I can just take the opportunity, you guys, trust me, the, these are just quotes, doesn't mean I'm 24/7 on this but it's like, oh, so now at least I'm becoming aware of different things or feelings within inside of me, and I'm going, oh, that's what that is. And so then, or even if I'm, like you say, around people or whatever, then I take time to just say, oh, whatever is within me is creating this action I'm having. It's really within me that's creating this reaction. And so then you can spend time and go, oh, what is it making me feel? Am I feeling, you know, like I have to, whatever. It comes really from maybe a point of, uh, maybe us feeling insecure or whatever, but just, guilt or shame or any of those things. And once we can look at that, or at least it's freed me up by knowing that, oh, I can only really be responsible for my own self. We all can choose whether we're offended or not. That's a choice, period. And the fact is that then it gives you an opportunity to go, oh, why am I choosing to feel, angry, frustrated, or less than, or, whatever. And so it's back to that. I guess I thought of that because it's really that opportunity to take our skin and rub it away so that we don't have to deal with it the same intensity each time.
Right. Yes. And how empowering, right? To be like, I'm responsible for my
Reaction, my
reaction.
thoughts.
Yes. Like that's so
There's something
empowering.
within
Yeah.
me.
Right.
There's something within me
Hmm.
is wanting me to react this way.
Right. Yes. I don't know if this is the quote you're thinking of, but Carl Jung has a quote of, um, whatever I experience outside myself, or whatever's not healed within me, will occur as an experience outside myself,
Oh, that's, yeah.
or something like that. But that's such a powerful, empowering perspective to have in life, because it shifts us out of victim, right? That this is all happening to me. And instead, it's like, okay, here's an area for me to look at, because my friend next to me is not responding at all to this.
Mm,
And I'm having a whole reaction, right? And she didn't even notice it happened.
yeah.
So that's great. Thank you. And also your comment about resentment just had me think, this is a little bit of a side note, but it is one of my favorite quotes. I'm a quoter too. I love quotes. But Gabor Mate, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a Canadian therapist professor. He does a lot in addiction, ADHD. He's really brilliant. But he has this great, he said, so often we do things because we feel um, guilty. We don't want to feel guilty, right? So saying no to something, saying yes to something, right? Telling our truth, we feel guilty. But ultimately, what happens is that if we override our truth and we say yes when we mean no, or we do things that we don't want to do, resentment builds. And we end up with resentment in our relationships, in our work, in our situations. And resentment is like the strangles everything. We start off with possibility and connection, and then there we are, just no connection, right? No possibility. And so he has this great quote in his book where he says, if you're in a situation and you're faced between the decision of guilt or resentment, choose guilt every time, because resentment is soul suicide.
Mm.
And so how I've taken that is, when I feel a little bit, because it used to be so either or, black and white. And now I'm like, okay, I'm holding a little space for guilt. I feel a little guilty saying no. I feel a little guilty not being available for this. But I'm just going to hold that. I'm going to hold a little space for the guilt, because I'm choosing that over moving towards resentment if I say yes. And then the guilt moves, and people move on. Amazingly, people move on. They find someone else, they do something else, right?
Yep.
What's interesting to me of what you just shared is the fact that, guilt is also can go a little deeper in the sense that guilt is part of that ego saying that, oh, you feel guilty about doing it, but basically part of that guilt is because you don't want to be looked at differently or not accepted, or so it goes back to that kind of ego again. And what's interesting is what you started out with, where you shared with your own experience of how you were kind of getting this, you need to make a change, blah, 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 blah. Then as you went on and didn't listen to that, you didn't allow yourself to feel quote, quote, guilty enough to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And then you became resentful, and that was the worst thing of all. So, wow, way to go. I mean, you've made this whole full circle here.
Right. brought it back to the original point.
Yeah, well, and I wrote down this quote about resentment is soul suicide,
Yes.
so yeah, so I can see how that's worse than feeling guilty.
Right. And really worse than the just go stepping onto the new path, facing the fear and stepping onto the new path. And that's really what I got, back to the original story. And for all of us, when fear is in the lead or doubt, right? Fear and doubt start to run the show. And if you're familiar with the energy centers, chakras at all, those are our first and second, right? So it's real energy in our body. And we get stuck in this fear and doubt, and then we don't move forward, right? What happens is that grows. It's like, what are we cultivating, right? And the fear and doubt grows. And then we get more and more feedback from life. Resentment grows, breakdowns. Have you ever had an experience where you're trying to hold something together and it's like I think of like a sand holder, with the holes in the bottom. Like the sand is just coming out. It's like you're trying, no, this can work. And it's just falling apart left and right. And it is really the beautiful thing about life is it gives us feedback. We really can't overstep our truth. It just keeps coming back. But yeah, the resentment grows, the breakdown grows, the dread grows until it kind of wears us out. And then we're like, fine, I'll go take the risk because this is too painful. So then after you do that a few times, then you're like, okay, I'm going to trust this at the first whisper and start to engage. Also, I love the quote that clarity comes through engagement, not thought. And from a compulsive overthinker, I know this to be true, that thinking about it, how it's going to go, what mostly the mind conjures up is imagined danger. These are all the things that could go wrong. These are all the mistakes you can make. This is all the ways you can embarrass yourself and fail. But actually engaging in it, even if it's a small step, if you feel a little inkling, I want to start this, I want to reach out to this person, I want to do this, just starting to engage in it, you start to get clarity, right? And life starts to meet you there and provide opportunities you didn't even imagine. And what I love about that is, when we are imagining danger, we're future tripping, and the mind always comes up with worst case scenarios, right?
Yeah.
What the mind does not imagine is all the support that's going to show up and all the synchronicities and all the magical things and all the ways that life meets you when you're willing to take a bold action. And so we're just over here imagining all the horrible things that are going to happen. But when we're actually engaging in it, life is co-creating with us. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't even see that. I did not know I was going to be in Florida this week when I took a risk, right? I took a risk and joined an organization. I met Lori, and here I am in Florida. I didn't imagine that happening. So remembering that when we sit and just think about what we want to do, we usually end up in doubt and fear. But when we just hear that inkling and engage in it, we get reinforcement, or we get redirection, or we get encouragement, or we get support. And that's what I love about following the essence and the thread. And we don't get resentment. Back to
Beautiful.
your full circle point.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us, Jaime. And I loved your analogy of the horse, with the the mare and how she's so calm, she's so in charge, she holds the space. And I think, as moms, as business owners, as women, we have a lot of times to be pretty negative with ourselves or putting ourselves down or not putting us in that space of the freedom to have that calmness, to be in charge, to keep moving forward, even if we have had mistakes or failures, to keep moving forward and to really, really, really keep our eye on that vision of why we even started this and who we are. And sometimes we get picked for maybe sometimes those mayors are not so sure that they want to be the lead mayor. But then they take that on and they do it because of that essence inside of them that has just grown and grown and grown. So I hope each one of you take this message today for wherever it is that you are in your business, in your life. And we always want to show up to empower you in your inner being of who we see you as, because we believe in you and we believe in all of the capacity that you show up as, no matter what it looks like. We just meet you where you are right now. And then what is it that you need to get to the next level or the next thing? Or, what is that you just desire so much? And hopefully, in the message that we've shared today, you will be able to get an inkling of that, even if it's just the awareness of what is going on inside of us. So thank you. And if you have any questions or you would like to talk to any of us, please put it in the chat and we will make sure to answer your questions. So thanks for being here today. Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
Thank
Jamie.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.